I just wrote up an issue to kind of write up where I am for our agenda. The beginning part is just more like, where am I with getting GDK to run and work locally? And then the rest of it is kind of like, all right, I have this goal to try and pick up one of the issues related to this epic of changing the deprecated buttons to the GitLab buttons for GitLab UI. And so I kind of outlined where I've gotten and then where I got stuck after an hour. And so I was hoping you could help me pick it up from there. So yeah, I initially started out by looking through the epic, which then led me down to a number of issues that were in there. I didn't really know which one to pick, so I just picked one that didn't have anybody assigned to it. And so this one brought me here. And so I was looking at this instructions for how to handle this issue, which seemed like pretty straightforward. The area I was getting tripped up on was taking a before screenshot. So I was able to figure out like, where does this live? You know, finding it in the tree on the repo. But I have like no idea how to truly find this button in our app. Okay, this one didn't have one.
Right.
No commits yet.
Changes, maybe?
Hey, there it is. We found
it. You did it! You, well done. Good sleuthing.
Oh man. Okay.
Right, so what is the aim of this issue? What is the aim of what you're trying to do? What's the aim of the issue that you're looking at doing?
The aim of the issue, from what I understand, is basically updating this button component. But to do that, I need to so replace it with the right class, change the attributes, take a screenshot before and after, and then review from a designer, which is me, but I don't know what the heck the differences are, so I'm not very helpful. But probably somebody else that would understand the visual difference between the two.
Would you like a quick run through of how to do this locally?
Yeah.
So step one, see the create merge request button on that issues page?
Back
to the actual issue you're looking at doing. So step one, you should assign it to yourself if you're going to work on this. So click assign yourself.
Okay.
Step two is at the bottom of the page, there's a create merge request button, the green button. So click that, and that will create a whip MR, work in progress MR for you with a new branch based off master. So just below the closes text, there's a request to merge and then some truncated text into master, and there's a copy clipboard icon.
Yeah.
So you can copy that, and then locally, either in VS Code or in terminal, you need to grab that branch. So yeah, just create new branch. Actually, no, maybe create new branch from. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So just pull. Start by doing a pull down, just to make sure that we're truly up to date with it. So what's the command in VS Code to do a pull?
Well, I was trying to pull up the terminal, but it's fine. I'll just
yeah, you can.
Oh, okay, yeah,
cool. So git pull. So for this is the thing you asked about before. The standard. So if you scroll up to those three options, so by default, and how everyone uses it, is the config pull rebase false. The default strategy, mostly because when we do a rebase, quite often we want to know that we're doing a rebase. Like, we want to be explicit. We want to say git rebase instead of git pull, if that makes sense. So you've got, it means when you're doing your merge request, you have two different options. You can rebase, which is the preferred approach, or you can pull down. If you know you don't need to do a rebase, it gives you more control. Whereas this way would never allow you to do anything other than rebase. So I would set git config pull rebase false personally.
Okay.
And then if you, most of the time you are going to want to do a rebase, but not necessarily off your own branch, more like off master. So you wouldn't do a pull anyway, you do a git rebase origin master. So once you've set that command,
so you're saying
you won't see that.
Git rebase false.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Enter that.
forward.
Just press enter on that line. Yeah. And then the second thing you want to copy is that whole git branch set upstream. Not that bit. So a bit further down. So where it says git branch set upstream. Where's my Alex?
This one.
Yeah. So you pretty much just, so paste, get rid of dash branch, copy this bit here, and you basically want to copy it, paste it twice. So paste it there, space, paste again. Because your local branch and your remote branch are the same name. So you can just paste, copy, space, paste.
Yep.
Enter. There you go. Now that's linked, just do a standard git pull. Right.
Okay.
You're up to date.
Great.
You may end up having to do another one of those git migrations, but let's get rid of everything we don't need. We know which file we need to change. Diffs, not the Haml version.
Not that one. Not the projects.
Yeah, so all the way up there.
Yeah, I was right here. No changes.
No changes. So the things you need to do are, you need to replace GlDeprecatedButton with GlButton.
Mm-hmm.
So step one, update this.
It looks like it's only 2 places.
Yeah, that's the closing bit. So
Yeah, only 2.
yeah, the opening tag and the closing tag. So replace that. And we will need to update the import up here. So where it says here.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the right button. So it should be GL, and we'll need to update that as well. So where it says
over here that tells me where I would change that.
No, it's making an assumption that you know how Vue works. So
strong assumption.
So GlDeprecatedButton, GlButton are Vue components. So it needs to follow the same style as what was there originally. So it needs to be capital. It needs to be snake case. Yeah. So GlButton, capital B. Yeah, and update the components list as well, so it gets pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get components into Vue.
Then let's see. There's a variant success. Okay, that didn't change. There's no category.
So this says when a variant is success, you need to change it to variant success category primary. So you need to add that
add a category primary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it. You may, so if you refresh your page.
Wait, before I do that.
Command R.
Just wanted to get the screenshots of a couple different states before I refresh
Okay,
it and see the differences.
It's going to be pink, isn't it?
Yep, it's pink. Okay.
I would dare you to manually change the color to pink.
I didn't save my file, so I wouldn't see anything. This again.
Now, manually change it to pink, take some screenshots out, and in your merge request, paste that as the change as, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, it looks good, right?
Still looks okay.
New color palette. Okay, yeah, it's a slightly different interaction. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice. It's just green to me.
It did something slightly different on hover. Kind of has like a drop shadow behind it. All right, we did that. Neat.
You got your screenshots.
Got my screenshots.
So the one thing you are going to need to check, so with every view component, there is normally a test.
Yep.
So chances are you will need to, at the very least, you'll need to update, if not fix the test.
Okay.
So this doesn't, so for instance, in this spec, it doesn't actually do anything.
Okay.
It prevents cross-site scripting.
Okay.
So it's not very helpful, is it?
In terms of knowing what to change, no.
Well, there's just nothing to change. The only other place I've seen it is in the app spec, which is under diffs /components /app_spec.
You're saying under the app view or somewhere different?
Yeah, but so yeah, it's the same. It's app view, but it's the spec version. So there should be app spec. There you go. This one here. But if you look at this one and what this one is doing with no changes, further down the file, on line 439, so 439, you will see
no changes.
Empty state, no changes. So renders empty state, contains no change, contains no change, contains no change. So once again, it's not actually testing if the button renders.
Nice.
And now I'm locking the dogs out as well. So your option is twofold. You can either add a test, probably to the no changes _spec. If you felt like it was a worthwhile endeavor, or you can leave it. So your test wise, if you did want to do it, it'd be a case of on specs, you would want to add, you would need to run it and check that the button is rendered. That's all you need to check.
Okay, so I need to open up that other one again.
No changes _spec_JS. Yeah.
Okay. And so what was I changing here? Because this was just checking for, you said like cross scripting or something. You're saying you need to check to make sure it exists.
Yeah, that would be what you'd want to do. Is you'd want to, after it prevents this block here, you would probably get you after that block in the new line within this big describe. Not there, outside the it. Yeah, one line down basically. Yeah, you'd probably add a new describe block, and it'd probably be with a name of, I don't know, renders or something of your choice, whatever you call it. You're basically within this, you're going to have an it shows the commit button basically.
Okay. Man, I'm like totally out of my element here, so I would need some significant hand holding.
Okay, simple. Right, single symbol quotes rather than backticks. Describe just renders. Yeah, and then just follow the same pattern. So after the text, there's a comma, then two parentheses, arrow, blah. So just copy that whole block, and then and open curly braces. Within that, so press enter. It. So the same thing as that prevents XSS up above, but instead of XSS, it's going to say shows. So this line here, you're going to want to copy.
Oh, got it.
But rather than it saying prevents XSS, you'd say shows whatever the button is. What's the button for? The button, create commit button.
Like that?
Button.
Yes.
Yeah, and then within that block,
Missing a bracket, I think.
It's missing a closing brace and a closing parentheses and a semicolon.
Missing all the things.
So the same as that. There you go.
All right.
So within that, you would do you would want to do create component, and then open bracket, open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. Yeah, and then underneath that, do an expect, open bracket, VM, parentheses, sorry, not bracket, my apologies.
Okay.
Bad English. VM.find. And then you're going to want to look for, so open parentheses again, because it's going to be a function. You're going to want to look for the snake cased GL button, so capital G, L, capital B button. Yep. Okay. So vim find, and then dot.
Here?
Yep. After the find, directly after the find, closing parentheses. Yep. So visible parentheses, and then at the end of that line, you put another dot.
Right here.
Or
after?
Yeah, after. So you're outside the expect method. So out to capital B E, so to B with a capital B. Mm-hmm. Yep. Parentheses again. True. Just the word true. Mm-hmm. And that would be it. So there's going to need to be some formatting on this, but we can sort that out in a second.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we've created a describe block, which is just a nice segmentation or a way of breaking tests down. So when they run, you get a bit more, I guess, hierarchy and description. And we're doing a new test case, it. So it's saying it's expecting something. So it should show create commit button. So we create the commit, create the component, which here the function is here. And what that does is it sets up the store, sets all the component up, and then sets VM to be the output. So it mounts it builds that component and stores it in the variable VM. And then within VM, we're saying, find me GlButton, the button we've added, and make sure it's visible. That is it. If we wanted, we could change that to make sure that the GlButton has a text value, but we don't want to test. The key thing to make sure is you don't test components of a component. You should never be testing how an inner component works. We shouldn't care how GlButton works. That's up to GlButton's tests to prove.
Right.
All we need to care about is that GlButton exists or is shown in the way that we need it to be shown. If we start testing how a component functions, then we're going outside the scope of a unit test and we're going into an integration test, aren't we? At that point.
Makes sense.
Because at that point, we're connecting the dots, seeing how no changes interacts with GlButton produces the right result, which is not what we're testing here. So testing, or how to run the test. It's very simple once you know how. So open up your terminal.
Okay.
Or within Vim if you prefer, or VS Code, sorry. So you can see things. So the first thing we want to do is, let me just check something. Yeah. So the first thing we need to run is this thing here, which I'm going to share so to make things a bit easier for you. But you'll need to change the path to match the no changes spec path. So what that is doing is that's running prettier, which is the code formatter we use on the front end, just to tidy up this file and make sure we don't get any alerts from the testing when it happens. So what's the path to this? It's spec front end diffs. You can probably copy it, I'm assuming.
Let's see.
So you need it says it about words English. It marks it there, and it also shows you the spec things here as well, it looks like. I think you can also copy it if you right click on the file, which I think there's a copy path on the copy path.
So I need to delete this block again.
Yeah. So yarn prettier, dash right, paste. So yeah, run that. Shouldn't matter though. It shouldn't matter. Okay. Should be okay. It shouldn't complain too much. Cool. That's pretty.
Very pretty.
And then the next thing you want to run is another one using the same path. So with it, so keep that in your clipboard. You want to run yarn space jest, JEST space, and then paste in your path, and then press enter.
I assume it's running now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not liked something because it's got one failed. So if we scroll up a bit, sorry, in the terminal, I should have been specific. Oh, okay. There's my bad. Remove the bracket, the parentheses from visible. It says visible is not a function. You still need the wrapping one. You still need the right-hand parentheses on the outside of visible. You just don't need the left one. Yeah, that's it. So there is when you're running tests, if you press up, before you run it, if you press space and then --watch, what that will do is it will, so press enter, that will run the tests, but it will also watch for changes. So if you do get failures, you can, every time you save, it will rerun the test without you having to type anything, and it will give you the outputs. Okay. So it's complaining that GlButton doesn't exist. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, because it appeared when we were typing it, so I thought that meant like it could find it.
No, it just found it in the code base, not necessarily that it found it in the
right place.
Yeah. One thing I'd be interested in is in in no changes spec. One thing you can do is you can put in console logs like you would in the browser. So you could, before that expectation, you could put console log vm.html, which is a function, so it needs parentheses. So yeah, just console.log. Yeah, parentheses. And then within that, vm.html parentheses. And then, yeah, semicolon at the end of all that. And then if we save, it should rerun automatically. Should output some stuff. Yeah, so there's the GlButton. See?
Yeah, I see right here. Yep.
It's finding it. So why? Change visible to exists. And that is a function, so it does need parentheses. Yeah, so let's save and see what that does. Oh, that passes. I like that. The only thing we need to do on the no changes spec is get rid of that console log.
Yeah.
So just delete that whole line and we're good. So this is committable now. So you can write a commit message